Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The most dangerous man is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who watches in silence, waiting. Society has always feared the men who don't fit neatly into its hierarchy, the ones who refuse to follow the script, reject authority, and move like ghosts through life. These men aren't alphas barking orders for attention, nor are they betas desperate for approval. They are something far rarer, far more unpredictable, and far more dangerous, the Sigma male. Here's a fact. Throughout history, the most influential and elusive men, think Nikola Tesla, Bruce Wayne if he were real, and even the mastermind villains we secretly admire, shared one thing in common. They operated alone outside the system without noise or need for validation, and that made them almost untouchable. Why are Sigma males so different? What makes them a threat, not just to the social order, but to anyone who underestimates them? More importantly, why do they make people, especially powerful ones, so nervous? Sit tight. What you're about to learn isn't just intriguing, it might just make you rethink everything you thought you knew about power, influence, and survival in a world designed for conformity. Number 1, they could destroy you, but they don't need to. A Sigma male's most unsettling trait isn't his intelligence, independence, or ability to disappear without a trace. It's the quiet restraint he carries, the fact that he could destroy you if he wanted to, but he doesn't need to. That kind of power is rare and it's terrifying. Most people wear their strength on their sleeves. They flex their status, shout their opinions, and let their emotions dictate their actions. They want others to know they're strong, powerful, and not to be messed with. But a Sigma male? He doesn't need to announce anything. He understands that true power isn't in proving what you can do. It's in knowing you can do it and choosing not to. That's what makes him truly dangerous. When someone wrongs him, he doesn't react the way most people do. He doesn't explode in anger, seek revenge out of impulse, or waste energy proving a point. He calculates. He assesses whether it's even worth his time, and in most cases it isn't. He knows that some people self-destruct on their own, and the best response is to let them. But if he does decide to act, it's never reckless. It's strategic, precise, and final. By the time the other person realizes what's happening, they've already lost. This restraint makes people uneasy. They expect confrontation, an argument, or at least some visible reaction. But when a Sigma simply stares, nods, and walks away, it leaves an unsettling feeling in the air. That silence, that lack of emotional response. It makes people nervous because they don't know what comes next. They don't know if they're safe, or if they've just made a mistake they'll regret later. His power lies in control of himself, his emotions, and his actions. He never moves out of desperation or ego. He moves when it matters, and when he does, it's with the kind of force that changes everything. But the real fear? The real reason people don't cross him lightly, it's because they know, deep down, that he could have destroyed them, and he chose not to. Number 2, they operate outside the social GPS. Most people navigate life with an internal social GPS. They follow unwritten rules, respond to societal pressures, and adjust their behavior to fit into expected roles. Alphas chase dominance, betas seek approval, and everyone else falls somewhere in between, trying to climb the invisible social ladder. But a Sigma male? He throws the whole system out the window. He doesn't play by the same rules because to him the rules don't matter. This makes him unreadable. When an alpha asserts dominance, most people either challenge it, submit to it, or try to align with it. But a Sigma doesn't respond in any predictable way. He simply doesn't engage. He doesn't fight for leadership, nor does he follow orders. This lack of reaction frustrates people who rely on traditional power dynamics. It confuses those who expect a clear social response, and when people can't figure out where he stands, they become uneasy. A Sigma moves through society without being bound by its expectations. He can blend in when necessary, disappear when he chooses, and disrupt without warning. He may work within systems, but he's never controlled by them. He's the type to sit in a corporate meeting, absorbing every piece of information, but mentally, he's already 5 steps ahead, figuring out how to bypass the entire structure. While others are busy competing for status, he's designing his own path, often one no one else even sees. What makes this dangerous is that power, real power, comes from being unpredictable. Most people can be manipulated because their desires, fears, and social instincts make them easy to read. But a Sigma doesn't move based on external validation or social positioning. His motivations are internal, which means he's impossible to control. When someone doesn't follow the social GPS, they become a wild card. People don't know whether to trust, fear, admire, or dismiss them. And that uncertainty, that's where the real power lies. Because when you can't predict someone, you can't prepare for them. And when you can't prepare for them, you've already lost. Number 3, they absorb information like sponges, but share almost nothing. A Sigma male is always watching, always analyzing, always absorbing. He picks up details that others overlook, the way people react under pressure, the subtle shifts in body language, the cracks in a system that no one else notices. He processes everything like a machine, storing information that might not seem useful at the moment but could be a powerful weapon later. But here's the catch: he rarely, if ever, reveals what he knows. Most people feel the need to showcase their intelligence, to prove they're aware, to share insights as a way of gaining validation. A Sigma, he does the opposite. He collects information without broadcasting it. He listens more than he speaks, and when he does speak, it's never everything he knows. It's just enough to control the narrative. This makes him incredibly dangerous. People assume they understand others based on what they reveal: opinions, knowledge, emotions. But with a Sigma, that information is scarce. You never know how much he truly knows, what conclusions he's already reached, or what moves he's planning. This unpredictability makes him impossible to outmaneuver, because by the time you realize he's 5 steps ahead, it's already too late. In business, this means he can dismantle competitors without them seeing it coming. In relationships, it means he can read people's true intentions while keeping his own a mystery. In life, it means he walks through the world with an unseen advantage. Because when no one knows what you know, they can't prepare for what you'll do next. And the best part? While others waste time bragging, arguing, or oversharing, he's just sitting there, watching, learning, and quietly becoming more powerful than anyone realizes. Number 4, they understand power but don't chase it. Power fascinates most people. They either chase it relentlessly, submit to it blindly, or waste their energy rebelling against it. But a Sigma male, he understands power better than anyone. How it works, how it shifts, how people cling to it and eventually lose it. Yet unlike alphas who crave dominance or betas who follow the strongest leader, he doesn't chase it. That alone makes him dangerous. Because he isn't desperate for control, he can't be manipulated by it. He doesn't need a title, authority, or public recognition to wield influence. In fact, he prefers to stay in the shadows, operating where no one expects. While others fight for leadership, clashing egos and burning bridges, the Sigma moves quietly, influencing outcomes without being in the spotlight. People underestimate him because he doesn't demand attention, until they realize too late that he's been pulling strings the whole time. This paradox, understanding power but refusing to worship it, makes him unpredictable. Most people can be controlled by offering them a taste of power or threatening to take it away, but a Sigma doesn't bite. He sees the trap. He knows that chasing power often leads to being owned by it. And because he isn't ruled by the need for dominance, he can walk away from deals, positions, or conflicts without hesitation, leaving those who try to control him frustrated and powerless. The most unsettling part? His influence often surpasses that of those who openly seek power. Without drawing attention, he quietly builds leverage, forms strategic alliances, and positions himself where he needs to be without anyone realizing it until it's too late. Those in power eventually come to a harsh realization. The man who doesn't chase power is often the one who holds the most of it. Number 5, they aren't motivated by the usual triggers. Most men can be controlled because their desires are predictable. Flash some money, offer them a title, feed their ego, or dangle the promise of sex, and they'll jump through hoops without even realizing they're on a leash. But a Sigma, none of those things work. He sees through the illusion. Money? Useful, but never the goal. He'll earn it, use it, and walk away from it if necessary. It doesn't own him. Status? Just another trap, another way society tricks people into chasing validation. He doesn't need approval, and he certainly doesn't need a title to know his worth. Sex? He enjoys it, but he's not controlled by it. He doesn't chase women, doesn't crave their attention, and isn't swayed by manipulative tactics. In fact, his indifference makes him even more desirable, flipping the usual power dynamic on its head. Praise is the easiest way to control most men. Tell them they're important, stroke their ego, and they'll bend over backward to maintain that feeling. But a Sigma operates from within. His sense of self isn't tied to what others think, so compliments and insults have the same effect. None. This immunity to external validation makes him a nightmare for manipulators. There's no emotional leverage to use against him. This is what makes him dangerous. You can't tempt him with money. You can't trap him with status. You can't bait him with sex. You can't sway him with flattery. While others chase after things dangled in front of them, he remains focused on what truly matters to him, something no one else can see, predict, or control. That's why he's always 3 steps ahead while everyone else is busy chasing shadows. Number 6, they are minimalists in everything, even warfare. Most people waste energy on pointless arguments, unnecessary conflicts, and battles they have no business fighting. They let emotions drag them into confrontations that serve no real purpose, exhausting themselves over things that won't matter in the long run. But a Sigma male, he doesn't play that game. He values efficiency above all else, and that includes how he engages in conflict. He never fights for the sake of fighting. He doesn't get caught up in petty rivalries, ego-driven disputes, or meaningless drama. If someone tries to provoke him, he ignores it. If a situation isn't worth his time, he walks away without hesitation. Some mistake this for weakness, but they couldn't be more wrong. A Sigma's lack of reaction isn't surrender, it's strategy. He knows that every battle costs something: time, energy, resources, and he refuses to spend any of those on something that doesn't give him a clear advantage. But when he does strike, it's precise and final. He doesn't throw wild punches, hoping one will land. He waits, watches, and calculates the exact moment when victory is inevitable. Then he moves, quickly, efficiently, and without hesitation. By the time the other person realizes what's happening, it's already over. There's no drawn-out conflict, no wasted energy. Just a single, decisive action that leaves no room for retaliation. This efficiency makes him dangerous. While others exhaust themselves fighting every battle that comes their way, he remains focused, conserving his strength for when it truly matters. And when the time comes, he ends conflicts before they even begin. Because true power isn't in how many fights you win, it's in knowing which fights are worth winning. Number 7, they don't chase women, women chase them, without realizing it. Most men chase women. They try too hard, overcompensate, and throw themselves into the exhausting game of impressing, persuading, and proving their worth. They follow scripts, texting strategies, pickup lines, and social media tactics, all in an attempt to gain attention. But a Sigma, he does none of that. And ironically, that's exactly why women become obsessed with him. A Sigma male's greatest advantage is his complete lack of neediness. He doesn't seek validation from women, doesn't crave their attention, and doesn't try to fit into the mold of what they expect. This confuses them. Most men behave predictably, either simping, competing, or boasting. A Sigma, on the other hand, remains indifferent. He doesn't try to be liked, which makes women want to understand him. He doesn't chase, which makes them wonder why. And that curiosity, it turns into attraction. Women are wired to be drawn to what they can't fully grasp. The more a man reveals his intentions, the easier he is to categorize and ultimately dismiss. But with a Sigma, there's always something unknown, something just out of reach. His mystery isn't an act, it's simply who he is. He isn't posting for attention, fishing for compliments, or constantly trying to keep a conversation going. He exists in his own world, and that independence is magnetic. The most dangerous part? He's not playing a game. He's not using tactics or trying to manipulate attraction. He simply doesn't prioritize women the way most men do, and that makes him a rare find, someone who doesn't need to impress, because his presence alone is enough to make women want to figure him out. By the time they realize what's happening, they're hooked, not because he chased them, begged for their attention, or played the usual tricks, but because he didn't. Number 8, they can erase people from their lives like a reset button. Most people struggle to cut ties. They cling to toxic relationships, demand closure, or let guilt and nostalgia keep them trapped in situations that no longer serve them. They waste time arguing, explaining, or hoping things will change. But a Sigma, the moment someone shows they are untrustworthy, manipulative, or a liability, they're gone. Erased. Not with anger, not with theatrics, just cold, calculated detachment. There's no warning, no drawn-out confrontation. A Sigma doesn't waste energy on revenge, emotional outbursts, or dramatic exits. He simply removes the person from his world, like deleting a file that no longer serves a purpose. One day they exist in his life. The next, it's as if they never did. And the most unsettling part, he doesn't look back. There's no regret, no second guessing, no late night reconsiderations. Once a decision is made, it's final. This ability makes him terrifying to those who take their presence in his life for granted. Most people assume relationships, whether friendships, business partnerships, or romantic connections, come with endless chances, emotional negotiations, and room for mistakes. They expect reactions, fights, or attempts to mend things. But when dealing with a Sigma, they realize too late that there's no bargaining. He doesn't leave doors open, he doesn't entertain apologies. Once someone is out, they are truly out. In extreme cases, this extends beyond just cutting communication. If necessary, a Sigma will relocate, change his social circles, or disappear entirely from that sphere, ensuring that person can never reach him again. He is not bound by places, routines, or attachments. If a situation becomes toxic, he resets his environment with surgical precision, leaving no trace of the past behind. This trait unnerves people because it's rare. Most rely on the assumption that human connections, once established, are difficult to sever completely. But with a Sigma, there's no emotional leash, no dependency, no weakness to exploit. And when people realize they can be erased as easily as they entered his life, they start to understand what true detachment looks like. Number 9, they understand the ugly truth about human nature. Most people cling to comforting illusions about human nature. They want to believe in unconditional loyalty, selfless morality, and the idea that society operates on fairness. But a Sigma, he isn't fooled. He sees the world for what it really is, not what people pretend it to be. He understands that morality is often situational. People will swear by their principles until survival, power, or personal gain is at stake. They claim to be loyal until a better opportunity comes along. They insist on fairness until they have the chance to tilt the scales in their favor. A Sigma recognizes that most human behavior is driven by self-interest, even when it's disguised as something noble. He doesn't judge it, he simply factors it into how he moves through life. This cold realism makes him dangerous. While others are caught off guard by betrayal, corruption, or manipulation, he anticipates it. He never assumes loyalty, never trusts blindly, and never relies on people to act against their own interests. This prevents him from being deceived, exploited, or emotionally shattered when people reveal their true colors. Unlike others, he doesn't waste time being disillusioned because he was never under the illusion in the first place. But here's where it gets even more unsettling. Because he understands human nature so well, he knows exactly how to influence it. He knows what people desire, what they fear, and how they justify their actions. He doesn't manipulate for sport, but when necessary, he can subtly steer situations in his favor without anyone realizing they're being played. He doesn't need threats or force, just an understanding of how people operate beneath their social masks. This level of awareness sets him apart from the average person who moves through life expecting fairness, honesty, and mutual respect. A Sigma expects nothing, and because of that, he's rarely caught off guard. The world doesn't break him because he never placed faith in illusions to begin with. He simply observes, adapts, and stays 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still trying to figure out what went wrong. Number 10, they never reveal their next move. Most people can't help but broadcast their intentions. They drop hints, seek validation, or outright announce their plans, whether out of excitement, ego, or insecurity. They want others to know what they're doing, to anticipate their success, or to acknowledge their struggle. But a Sigma, he moves in complete silence. By the time you realize what he's done, it's already too late to react. This isn't about secrecy for secrecy's sake. It's about strategy. A Sigma understands that the more people know, the more they can interfere, sabotage, or attempt to control the outcome. He doesn't give them that opportunity. He keeps his true motives buried beneath layers of unpredictability, making it impossible for anyone to track his next step. Even those closest to him rarely know what he's truly thinking. This level of discretion makes him dangerous. Most opponents rely on being able to anticipate, pressure, or manipulate someone's decisions. But with a Sigma, there's no leverage, no way to predict his trajectory, no warning signs before he moves. Whether it's in business, relationships, or personal growth, he doesn't waste time explaining or defending his actions. He simply executes. This also gives him an aura of mystery that unnerves people. They don't know if he's planning something big, walking away entirely, or playing a game they can't even see. His unpredictability keeps others on edge because, in a world where everyone overshares, a man who says nothing is impossible to read. And in a game where knowledge is power, a man who gives away none holds all the cards. Number 11. Their minds are a fortress. No one gets in. Most people are open books, easily swayed by emotions, guilt, or social pressure. They react, they explain, they seek approval. But a Sigma, his mind is a locked fortress, cold, unshakable, and impossible to breach. You can try to insult him, shame him, or manipulate him, but you'll find yourself talking to a wall. He doesn't react the way you expect, and that alone makes him dangerous. People use emotions as weapons, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, and pressuring others into submission. Society itself is built on emotional control, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being seen as an outsider. But none of that works on a Sigma. He's immune to the usual tactics because he doesn't seek validation, doesn't fear disapproval, and doesn't need to fit in. You can call him selfish, arrogant, or detached. It won't move him. He doesn't absorb negativity, nor does he waste time defending himself. If he knows he's right, he doesn't need confirmation from anyone. His emotional self-control is terrifying to those who rely on manipulation. They throw insults, expecting him to react. He doesn't. They try to guilt him into doing something. He won't. They attempt to pressure him into following the crowd. He simply walks away. And when someone has no emotional weak spots to exploit, they become nearly impossible to control. This level of detachment makes people uneasy. They're used to seeing emotions as leverage, a way to bend others to their will. But with a Sigma, every attempt to get inside his head fails. He doesn't overshare, doesn't explain himself, and doesn't allow anyone to dictate his thoughts. His mind is his own, untouched by external influence, making him one of the rarest and most unpredictable men in existence. The Sigma male is a paradox, silent but powerful, detached but deeply aware, invisible yet impossible to ignore. He doesn't fight for dominance like an alpha or seek approval like a beta. He moves differently, thinks differently, and plays a game only he understands. That makes him unpredictable. That makes him dangerous. What truly sets him apart isn't just his independence, it's his ability to navigate life without being bound by the same rules as everyone else. He can erase people without hesitation, walk away from power without regret, and win battles without even engaging. He understands human nature, yet remains unaffected by its flaws. He sees through illusions, yet lets others stay trapped in them. And that's why he's unstoppable. Because in a world where most men are controlled by ego, emotion, and external validation, the Sigma male remains free, not because he was given power, but because he refused to be controlled in the first place. If this breakdown of the Sigma mindset hit differently, if you saw the power in moving silently, thinking independently, and playing by your own rules, then you already know you're not like the rest. So here's the deal. Don't just watch, be part of this. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another deep dive into the Sigma mentality. Like the video if you found value in it. Drop a comment and let me know which Sigma trait resonates with you the most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. This channel isn't for the average, it's for those who see through the noise and operate on a different level. If that's you, welcome. Now let's keep moving in silence.